All right, the economy's roaring back, baby. U.S. weekly jobless claim to drop fresh 13-month low. A lot of businesses are reopening. That's great. It's that time of the year when the touristry industry, hospitality industry normally rebounds, but more people are at work. That's a great thing regardless, but don't try to pump this up as being some kind of a great Biden resurgence in the economy. This is just what tends to happen at that time of year, but it's great regardless. We'll get into why it's a little bit more nefarious in a minute, but good things good. How about that? And this is also a repost from Reuters, so don't necessarily hold that against Epoch Times. Fewer Americans filed new claims for unemployment benefits last week as the labor market recovery gains steam amid an economic boom. Really? Real economic boom? Every other day the stock market's doing fucking bipolar ups and downs, so let's fucking cool it on the economic boom, which is being fueled by a rapidly improving public health situation. Really? Yeah, but a lot of blue state governors are still telling you that you should stay inside and be scared and wear 45 masks just in case a virus might come in. Yeah, well, just wait for the fucking punchline here. And massive government financial assistance. That's not helping. That's not helping. Again, just like how we just ended the previous video, that's once again a massive axe wound in your head. That's like putting a couple of fucking tensor wraps over it. Let's not call this a great big success because you threw money at something that you're eventually going to have to fucking clean up later. It's like potty training a dog. It's shit on the carpet and you put a little bit of newspaper over top of it. Doesn't mean that it's gone. It's just the stink is covered up for a little bit. Labor market strength was reinforced by other data on Thursday showing U.S.-based employers in April announced the fewest job cuts in nearly 21 years. Yeah, because things are finally rebounding, so you wouldn't be cutting jobs. That's probably good, but it's also very obvious, I guess. It's just a number to make it seem like things are great. You can drag out a number. It's like, this is the lowest it's been in over 2 decades. Cool. The report added to another upbeat employment data in suggesting that the economy enjoyed another blockbuster month thanks to Saint Biden. But the labor market is not out of the woods yet, with about 16.2 million people still on unemployment benefits. And there's the kicker. All it took was 3 little paragraphs. Claims are signaling a new stage in the labor market recovery, said Gus Fokker. Sucks to suck. Chief economist at PNC Financial in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Although unemployment remains elevated, the labor market is rapidly recovering. As he said in front of a board with a couple of pieces of string and a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, looking like he hasn't slept in a week. Initial claims for the state unemployment benefits tumbled to 92,000 to a seasonally adjusted 498,000. Wow, for the week ended May 1st. The Labor Department said that was the lowest since mid-March of 2020 when mandatory shutdowns of non-essential businesses were enforced to slow the first wave of COVID-19 infections. Exactly. Doesn't that all make sense? Okay. So there are 16.2 million people still out of work right now. Still on EI. Still on unemployment benefits. Whatever the fucking proper terminology for it is. Where is most of this stuff happening? Well, there was another report that was released that tells you a little bit different of a story. Blue states lost double the jobs than red states during the pandemic. Nobody's shocked. This is another one of those state the obvious things, and you should, because it's required. Okay? States that voted for President Joe Biden in the last election lost more than twice the number of jobs during the pandemic on average during the pandemic than states who voted for former President Donald Trump, according to a recent study. I wonder if that'll be adjusted if certain audits end up coming back to show irregularities. Anyways, job losses differed significantly during the lockdowns from the Chinese coronavirus pandemic from the states on party affiliation, according to recent analysis by the Daily Mail. According to the report, states that voted Biden on an average lost 6.2% of jobs versus states that voted for Trump, which only lost 2.5% of jobs. That is significant. Considering the states that voted for Biden, New York, California, Michigan, Pennsylvania, these are the big population states, and them losing 6% of jobs looks a hell of a lot different than 2.5% of Arkansas, Missouri, even Florida and Texas. Daily Mail analysis shows one of the main reasons job loss rates differed could be the varying severity of state lockdown restrictions. You don't say! Between February and December of last year, states that went for Biden saw a total number of people working drop an average of 6.2% versus 2.5% decline in those voting for Republicans, the report claimed, referencing federal jobs data. It's also, okay, right there. Okay, it makes sense, right? These big population centers already voting Democrat anyways. It wouldn't have made much sense. But then you just take a look at the raw numbers here. Okay, look at the top here. Okay, you got Alaska, Utah, Kansas, Idaho. Kansas and Idaho, who broke even, voted Republican. Tennessee, Nebraska, South Dakota, Arkansas, Wyoming, Indiana, Mississippi, Montana, Alabama. Then you get to Wisconsin. Again, like I stated earlier, right now, Wisconsin voted Democrat. That ought to freak out some people. That's the first one. That's the first Democrat state. 13th down on the list. Number 14 overall at nearly 2%. Oregon is the only staunch blue one. Okay? And they're clocking in at number 16. And then you take a look at the bottom of the list. Iowa is the only outlier. Everybody else lost between 6.3 and 10.2. That's Nevada. I think that one makes sense for very, very, very obvious reasons. And of course, they're going to be rebounding. I'm sure that they're probably a big portion as to why the unemployment claims are probably drying up to create that 13-month low. But the states at the bottom there, you take a look. You got Jersey, Michigan, Maryland, Rhode Island, California, New York, Massachusetts, Hawaii. What are those states' rates of relying on the welfare state to begin with? Okay, there's kind of a left turn you might not have expected, but these are states who were already going to vote Democrat regardless. There was no hope of flipping really any of those states in New England and the Northeast without the free Gibbs. Okay, where would their interests lie? Well, probably in more jobs, probably not in an increase of 9 to 10% unemployment. That's how they get you. That's how they'd be voting for you for the next 200 years, to quote LBJ again. So to see this in chart form does not shock me one bit. Probably doesn't shock you either. It's probably just a confirmation of what you were already thought. It has nothing to do with population. It's corrected for that. Nevada, Hawaii, you can probably explain away because they're huge tourist destinations, seasonal travel. But the states that vote that would normally just be relying upon themselves, they had thriving economies before the shutdown. They weren't waiting for government stimulus to turn everything around. They were self-sufficient on their own. I think a lot of this stuff is very understandable based on who lives there, based on what the normal voting patterns are, and based on the drain that these states are economically speaking. So yeah, I thought that was a fun little tidbit that we'd add here today. Now we got to talk about Canada. Everybody is laughing about the lockdowns, while most of these states are reopening at a relatively expedient clip. You've got Canada continuing to be scared about some third wave that's really putting everybody in the hospital. FYI, nobody's going to the hospital. Cases are on the rise, but fucking what does that mean at this point? People are going to get sick in order before we reach a herd immunity on this thing anyway. So, but Canada's being an asshole, and that's just merely a part of it. So, figure we might as well check in there. It's there's enough stories to go around, I suppose. I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it.